Motivational Fire Radio.
This episode's brought to you by Notorious Fire Company. Firefighter owned and operated, Notorious Fire Company manufactures and creates quirky and unique items for the fire service. Whether it's your stainless steel water bottles, tumblers, 4-in-1 koozies, you can decorate your emotional support water bottle with more than 100 different designs. They offer so very much, from apparel to swag to stickers. They got you covered. Check them out at notoriousfire.com. That's NOTORIOUS, notoriousfire.com. And check them out on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Notorious Fire. And this month with the podcast, if you use coupon code Fire Radio June 2023, that is Fire Radio June 2023, you'll get free shipping on all orders within the U.S. So check them out, notoriousfire.com. Lenny and the crew, they're making great stuff. And I have to tell you, with the summer upon us, the sticker packs are out of control. You got everything from Star Wars to pinups and everything in between. Slap them on your beer fridges, your coolers, and your tumblers, and celebrate the summer in style with Notorious Fire. A good supporter and longtime friend. We're happy to have him on the podcast with us. Check him out, notoriousfire.com, and coupon code FIRERADIO June 2023 for free shipping all across the U.S.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Size Up by National Fire Radio. It is your old pal who's not so old, regardless of what Ryan Pennington says about me on episode 23, Pip, here with another episode this week. And I am beyond super stoked about this guest that I have this week. And it's funny because if you already know who the guest is, I put it on the picture and I make it like this big thing where nobody knows when I talk about him or her in this little opening. If you're watching on YouTube, you're staring at this guy. And if you don't know who he is, you need to start watching TV a little bit more or get on social media, because he legit broke my social media feed a few weeks back with his latest feat of amazingness. But this gentleman is a husband, a father, a firefighter, a para-athlete. So that leads me into, I guess, an amputee, an author, a motivational speaker, a Texan. He's pretty much got it all going on except a really cool haircut like I have. But
you like that?
See, I love it when they can't talk, when I have to say something and then they jump in anyway. And most notably, I guess, most recently notably, at least, the first ever amputee to be a semi-finalist on American Ninja Warrior, Gary Weiland. What is up, buddy? How are you?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I'm doing great. Appreciate you having me on here, brother.
Dude, man, you are like the story right now in the social media circles, I guess, that I see, whatever the algorithm wants me to see. You know, your semifinal run was just out of control. I mean, you almost made the host fall out of the stand.
Yeah, he, there's actually a little bit more to that. He actually did come out of the stand, so we'll see if they show some of that in my next episode. But yeah, he actually came down and gave me a big old hug when I cleared that log runner. He was pretty excited, as you could see.
Yeah, I mean, everybody was excited watching. I think my favorite video that you have on social media right now is watching you watch yourself at the watch party and get pumped up. You could see it in your body language, just how emotional that was for you.
There was, and we of course filmed it a couple months ago, and I just haven't seen it yet, and so I knew that it had gone pretty well, especially for TV purposes, and I thought that they really had an opportunity to do something special with it, and I was just excited to see how it was going to turn out. So that was my first time watching it too, man.
Oh, you didn't even get so I have a little bit of TV-ness. I was in a commercial once and I got to see the final cut like the day before it aired officially. Yeah. So I knew what was coming, but you had no idea how they cut that up, huh?
Yeah, well, they had sent me a small clip, so I didn't have the full run. I didn't have the announcers. I didn't have any of that. It's just a small clip for social media. So I was pretty excited to see how the whole thing was going to come out.
It's so cool too, because American Ninja Warrior is like part like like amazing sport, part the agony of defeat, part WWE kind of, part everything, part reality TV, right? And is it
Yeah, these are professional athletes, man, and you get one shot. You know, if you miss that
you,
grip.
sir. No, wait, not these. You, sir, are a professional athlete. Because I did a little Ninja Warrior thing too once, little, very little, nothing like you. Please don't blow me up on the internet. And it was extremely hard. So you were a professional athlete. Go ahead.
Oh, I appreciate it. But yeah, it is a lot harder than what you might think. If you've never been to a ninja gym, I highly encourage you to go try it out sometime because it's definitely harder than it looks.
It for me at least, I know we did some practice runs and I did some training, and there were some ninjas there. Actually, Daniel Gill, who was on your episode, I believe he was there when I
Yeah,
did my backyard ninja thing.
yeah,
It was like a cops versus firemen challenge, and there were like 75 people there cheering us on. And in
right,
practice, everything went really good. And then the pressure hit of people are watching me. I have to do
right,
these obstacles, and that salmon ladder, I knew how to do it, but I keep telling people, and I don't think many people even understand me. My brain couldn't tell my body how to do the move that I knew I had to do, and it was hard
right.
to go up like 3 rungs on that, right? So that's got to be a huge part of ninja, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. 90% of the battle is mental. Just trusting your body to do what it needs to do and landing where it needs to land. And to be honest, the older I get, it makes it even harder, because I got to go to work tomorrow. So if I miss that, so that's always in the back of my mind. And yeah, the competition is way different than practice. I go and train for an hour and a half, and get to the competition, and I've got about 2 minutes, and I'm exhausted. So it's definitely a lot different competing than just training.
And I mean, like, you're not old, like I'm not old, the same thing, but you're competing against high schoolers, essentially. There were a couple high school kids this season, right? I think I saw.
Yeah, 25, 26 years older than these kids, and so that's all right. Bring it on, baby, bring it on.
It's it, man. And that's what your whole life is about, right? Adapt and overcome. And I think that is, I mean, we're not even talking about like your one, I don't want to say call it your claim to fame, but you're an amputee, and you started adapt and overcome, and you have challenges and you're overcoming them. That's like the extra challenge compared to age, career, dad, like
Right? Yeah, I am involved in a couple of things that are extra. Yes, you're right. So,
a little bit extra there, and then still performing on the stage and being able to again get your body to do what your mind needs it to do is such a big thing in everything in life, but in that ninja. And I wasn't falling very far. You're falling probably 15 feet into the water or so, right?
yep, yep. And so, yeah, it is water, but still, there's that factor of falling for 15 feet.
Which isn't fun if anybody's ever jumped off a cliff or done a high dive. It takes, I know I did a Tough Mudder many moons ago, and my best picture from that Tough Mudder my wife got, and it was like the jump, whatever that was, 15, 20 feet. I'm
Right?
like halfway through it, and I can remember in my head just being so scared to hit the water.
Right. But that's you anticipating jumping.
Yeah.
Like when we fall, we're not anticipating falling. Like we're either exhausted or we're in the middle of a move, and all of a sudden we're falling. And it's like, oh crap, what am I doing? And then you hit the water. And it's a little bit different mentally knowing that you're jumping into the water, whereas you're just falling into the water. You know what I mean?
You're just, the next thing you know, you're soaking wet. And that's one of the things too that you kind of fell, you made the TV drama really real here, because you had the same obstacle, which
Right.
I'm sure was kind of, maybe someone was like, we know what we're making Gary run on this season.
You
But that
know,
log runner.
So, when the producers had called me this year and they said, "Hey, we want you back," um, I gave them a little pushback. I said, "You had me on last year for the first year, and I was the only amputee. And out of the 6 obstacles, 5 of them were leg obstacles. so, what's going on this year? I mean, should I come back or what? And they're like, man, we have been talking for a year about that. And they're like, we are not going to hit you with 5 leg obstacles. So please come on the show. And I was like, all right, I'll give this thing a try and see how it goes.
No,
And
but we're gonna hit you with the one you fell on.
yeah, right. I think that was a little bit on purpose.
It did make for the drama again. That is Ninja Warrior, though, right? And it made for your adapt and overcome. I mean, that's it, man. You were
Man,
having
last year when I got hung up on the log runner and I was planking for 2 minutes, it felt like 2 hours, and I fought and fought and fought and ended up, of course, falling in the water. And I was so frustrated. I'm very competitive. I wanted that buzzer. Uh, but then after that, because I speak all over the country about overcoming obstacles and challenges, I realized that it was for the best because it showcased, like it really showed what my character is, who I am. I don't just say adapt and overcome. Like I showed you what I was doing. I was fighting till my very last breath, and so it actually kind of worked out, in that regards. And then this year, when I showed up that night and, I saw that log runner and I was like, really? There was a part of me that was like, dang it, because it is so hard for me to do that. But then there was a bigger part of me that was like, you know what? I was expecting this, and I am going to beat this thing this year. And you saw it. I didn't get through it, the traditional way.
unscathed,
Uh,
unscathed.
you know, maybe I'm starting a new tradition for the way I'm gonna beat it. I don't know. I hope not. But I found myself just hanging on for dear life, and that's how life is, right? Sometimes we're just hanging on, by the skin of our teeth, and that's where it found me. And of course, I was really frustrated. I'm sure you saw it in my face, but I was mad. I was like, dang it, how did I end up here? And but then I decided, no, this is not going to beat me again. I am getting through this thing. And I had my coaches down there, screaming and hollering at me. And I did say a little prayer and I just sent it. I just went for it. I had zero doubt in my mind that I was going to get through that. And I think that's what carried me through. That's with anything in life, right? It's that confidence. It's to know, hey, I am going to do this, and no doubt, no fear, and you just go for it. And it worked out for me. It actually, made for great TV. It made great for entertainment, drama purposes. But that is what actually got me, to the runoff at the end of the episode. So had I fallen on that, I would have never made it to the runoff. And so they took 12 of the 30 to the semifinals, but this year they added that little
Race.
yeah, just a little bit different aspect there where they're like, okay, the number 12 and the number 13 are going to race for that number 12 spot. Well, I found out I was already the number 12 spot. So I was like, seriously? Like, I made it. I made it to the semis. And now you're saying, no, you still got to earn it. You still got to fight. You still got to battle this 26-year-old guy who's in the army. I'm just like, really? Oh my gosh, what do I have to do to prove that I belong here? And and so of course I went through all this whole mental game. I was like, dang it, I can't believe this happened. And I'm like, nope, no, I'm doing it. I don't care what they throw at me. I don't care if they make me run this course with a 45-pound pack on my back. Like I am going to beat this guy. And and you saw it was a race, and of course I can't really, during that race, he was running and doing that
Yeah.
and going fast, and I just, I
That
don't have
first
that
and
ankle, so I can't.
the first obstacle is
Yeah,
really hard for you being an amputee. Like
yeah,
you couldn't do it like someone with 2 legs would. For I don't want to insult you in any way, shape, or form, but
right.
like it was just one of those obstacles that you had to take a little slower.
Yeah, and it's those steps are a lot farther apart than they look on TV. Like they're just going pop, 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 and I'm like, that ain't happening.
There's
So
no popping for me to get back this far.
no, no. And so my goal was to go slow at the beginning and then catch up to him later, and hope that, he doesn't get a buzzer and I do get a buzzer. So I just want to get farther than him because, these guys, not necessarily him, but like the people I compete against, like they travel all year long. They compete with American Ninja Warrior all over the world. Like that's their job. And yet they don't get buzzers. You know what I mean? Like it is so hard to get a buzzer. And so I was like, I'm going to get it. I'm just hoping he doesn't, but I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get that buzzer and go farther than him. And then I got to that second obstacle and I was about to go and I saw him fall. And so I was like, whoa, what just happened? What just happened here? I have a chance. I have a chance here. Take my time and get through this obstacle, man. And
it's so crazy too, the way you described that moment, because my sons and I were watching it. And so the guy falls and they were like, yeah. And I'm like, dude, he didn't win yet. I was like, and as we're watching you prepare, and especially more for my older son, Finn, I'm like, is this worse? Like, would you rather be chasing someone, or do you know in your head now, all I got to do is go to there and I got it? So how did that process go? Because that's a whole different type of mental process.
Yeah. So, last year, my whole, reason for being on the show, I wanted to show people that, yes, I look a little bit different. I might have a little disadvantage here, but I'm still going to fight for my best life. And you can too, no matter what your challenge, no matter what you're facing, you can fight, you can get through it. And I wanted to show people that, on the show. And so my mindset was all about enjoying the moment, enjoying the journey, and just kind of being an example for people. And this year, I wanted to do that, but I was laser focused this year. I wanted to get that buzzer. I wanted to win. I was competing. And so, something kind of changes in my mind whenever I go to a competition. I kind of focus, I can zero in and do what has to be done, no matter what that is, to win. And that's what I did. As soon as I hit that second one and I was about to go, I could see him in the corner of my eye, and then I saw a splash down. And so then I was like, okay, this is it. Focus, get through this one obstacle, take it one at a time. I have to get all the way through it because he got to the obstacle first. So just because like he didn't make it to the second part of the obstacle, so even if I would have made it to the second part or the third part, if I would have fallen,
you had to finish
he still would have won.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to get to the platform at the end of the obstacle in order to move on, in order to beat him. So I knew that, and I thought, okay, one at a time, take a few extra swings, whatever it takes to just clear this obstacle. And as you could see, I was pretty excited when I hit that platform.
Just a little bit, huh? and rightfully so, because that was your goal, right? And now you're back in it again whenever you're heading back to film those semifinals, like to get another run again. So I mean, it's obviously just training on top of training at this point, more than likely, right?
Oh yeah. Back to LA end of July, and see what happens, see who I get to face, and see who's facing me, and
because that's it too.
Try and win this thing.
Who's bringing, like, who you're up against that night? Because eventually your time does count, and how far you get. So that's another big part of it all too, in the American Ninja Warrior competition end, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So this year they kind of did it a little bit different, like the NCAA, March Madness, any type of tournament where it's like the top seed versus the lowest seed. So I'll be going against number 1 seed since I was the number 12 seed. So that's how I do things.
Take him or her down, whoever it is. Just take them out. It's all that matters. Look, it's like you said before, though, right? It's one step at a time. It's one obstacle at a time. And I mean, dude, just being in the game is a win in my book. So
yeah, it really is. To make history like this is mind blowing to me. I'm just grateful to be in this opportunity. You know what I mean? And just spread this message of hope and faith and perseverance and grit and determination. And just get after it. Don't let nothing stop you. And I truly live my mantra of adapt and overcome. It's not something I just talk about. It's what I do. It's who I am.
I can only imagine like your email account and your messages and your comments and like how much juice that gives you to just keep wanting to go forward.
It is. It's really cool. I've been on a few different podcasts now, some TV appearances, radio. My apparel website is blowing up. People all over the country and Canada are logging on and finding my website and buying the A&O apparel. And I don't know what I'd do someday if I ever I'm walking down the street and someone is literally wearing my A&O.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. It's crazy, man, just to think about that.
It's gonna happen. I 100% guarantee it, because I've done some stuff with the not-for-profit and seen people and I'm like, guys wearing my T-shirt. I was afraid the first time I saw someone not at a firefighter event, not at a fitness event, like just out in random wearing a 555 shirt.
Cool.
I was afraid to go up to them. And my
Right.
wife was like, you have to go up to them. They're going to know who you are. And I'm like, I know, but I'm afraid. Like, I'm
Right.
just afraid. But for you, it's going to be such an amazing, and for them too, is going to be such an amazing experience, for sure, because that's you. And like you said, you're living it. And it's crazy. We've gone on 20 minutes here almost, and we've just talked about your recentness. I had a whole plan. I always have a plan. They never go the way I plan them to. But prior to becoming a firefighter, were you always an athlete? Were you always this guy, or did it just
Yeah,
start?
right. So, I was a late bloomer. I actually graduated high school. I was 5'5" and I weighed 110 pounds.
I feel you, man.
So,
I feel you.
yeah, yeah. But, so my brother, he was 6'2" and weighed 230. So
Older
he
or
was
younger, your
5 years older.
Okay.
Uh, so I grew up just wanting to beat him at everything, and I couldn't beat him at anything. If I did ever get an edge on him, then he would just grab me and sit on me, basically. And so that whole time, I'm jumping, honestly, and just trying to be as big and tall as him. And that's where I kind of developed some springs in my legs, if you will, because by the time I did graduate high school, I was grabbing the rim at 5'5", and then after high school, I grew 5 more inches and
Oh,
gained about 40 pounds, and then now I'm dunking it. You know what I mean? But I missed all those opportunities in high school to play sports. I went to a big 6A school, graduating class of 500 kids, and so they kind of had their pick of the litter. Uh, but since then, I still stay very active. I work out all the time, in my early 20s, and play basketball in the league and softball. And so I was very active, very athletic, and then started having kids, and I just try to keep up with them.
that's the hard part. Trust me. And I didn't have that growth spurt after high school. People told me it could still happen. It just never came. I just
Yeah, yeah.
5'2" for life is where I was for that one. But I could grab the net. I was always impressed that I could
There
grab the
you go.
on a basketball rim.
Nice.
But yeah, the growth spurt never happened for me. Now, what led you to the fire service? Was it something you always wanted to do, or just I took a
No, I never, being kind of a smaller guy, I never like saw myself in that position. I never saw myself as a fireman or police or military. But once I got out of school and started having a family, and I actually went into the retail world for a long time. It was good money, but a lot of hours. And when I was 31, my wife brought my kids in to work to see me because I was always working. And my oldest son, he was about 8 at the time, and he says, "Man, when I grow up, Dad, I want to work here with you." And I thought, "Oh my gosh, what am I doing with my life?" So I had some soul searching, some self reflection there. Like, okay, I've been given some gifts. I've been given some athleticism. Halfway intelligent guy. I was like, okay, I'm kind of wasting those gifts a little bit on this retail, and not that retail's not important, but I just felt like there was something more for me personally. And so that's when I kind of went back to the drawing board and talked to my wife. And I was like, there's something more. There's something more for me out there. I need to do something. I feel like I need to serve my community, support my family, use my physicality and my intelligence. I need to do something with it. And so that's when I looked back into the military, and it just didn't seem right. And I looked into being a police officer, and didn't seem right. And then, I saw a fire truck drive by one day, and I thought, what? I mean, obviously firefighters fight fire, but like, what else do they do really? And so I started researching. It's like, wow, they're all EMTs. They fight all kinds of different fires. They use their brain. They work out. They stay in shape. That is what I need to do. That is my calling in life. And it's all about timing, right? Like when I was in my early 20s, it never would have kind of worked out. But now my life was kind of established where I needed to be physically and mentally. And that's what I did. I told my wife, this feels right. And I'm going to quit my job and put myself through fire academy and EMT school. And we're going to be poor for a couple of years until I get on somewhere. But this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And, she's always been super supportive of me and my dreams, and that's what I did.
It's so great too to hear that story because there's so many folks out there like you. I feel like, I was fortunate and got hired at 25, but I was
Nice.
taking tests from, my dad was a firefighter, so second generation. But I took tests from 18 to 25, and it took me that long to get hired.
Yep.
And what I feel like I'm seeing now on the towards the end of my career here, is more folks with your story starting out a little later in life, in their early 30s. In New Jersey, you can't be older than 35. Unless
Yeah.
you have some military time or something like that. But
Yeah.
I feel like this rookie, I can't say for this rookie class that's currently in, but I know the last one, I think the youngest guy was 26.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so we're right in there with
Right.
these.
Yeah.
We're kind of a group of people with kids that are doing the same thing, saying like, "Look, I'm gonna take this big pay cut because I know that this
Oh,
job
yeah.
is gonna both pay me well and fulfill me for the next 25 years." Kind of like your story.
Yeah. Absolutely. It was a major pay cut for me. Like I said, retail world, I was getting paid pretty well, and becoming a firefighter, was almost cut in half. And so that wasn't why I did it though. I just felt like this is my calling. I need to serve others. I need to use these gifts and abilities I've been given, and everything will work out.
It's so amazing too when hearing you say that because it's something that I tend to forget too is the serving others part that got me into this. But I tend to forget it because there's so many other cool aspects of the job, like getting
Oh
to
yeah.
go into fires, getting to help people, obviously, but like getting to run saws and drive faster
Right.
and like the adrenaline end of it that I feel like correlates into the ninja world too, and that pressure that we talk about in our heads, trying to figure out that next scenario one step at a time.
Yeah, and being calm amongst the chaos, right? Like getting our heart rates down. Actually, what's kind of crazy is I've been doing it for 12 years now, and fighting fire, and we've trained ourselves so much to be calm. Right, this is not our emergency. We need to move with a purpose, but it's not our emergency. We need to breathe and just go to work. And right before I do my competitions, my ninja competitions, I enter this whole breathing concept, and my heart rate drops so low that I almost fall asleep. I don't know. It's like too much training. Like, hey, I got to get hyped up here. Come on.
I gotta go do this now. Yeah, it's one of
Right.
those things you don't even realize you're doing as any emergency service provider too. That you're calm within the chaos. And it's funny because I started wearing, like as technology got better, and I'm holding up for those listening, I'm showing them my Apple Watch now, but you're able to track your heart rate. And I started wearing it, whatever one, it wasn't the Apple Watch, another one, and legit had a grab at like 4 a.m. And you see my heart rate like resting to like, I don't know, whatever it is, 50 something sleeping, and
Right.
then spiking for the call, and then literally spiking for the rescue, but then coming
Yeah.
right back down as we continued to go to work because the grab was really quick and was
Nice.
like, oh, we got to go back in and search the rest of the house now.
Right.
But you see that about your heart rate, and it's something that I consider myself fortunate being involved with 555 to have really thought about more. And some folks don't even think about that end of what we're doing, but I feel we're doing a better job in the fire service than we were when I started, for sure.
Oh yeah. I think training has come a long way. Everyone is all in these days. It's awesome. We have an unbelievable training division in Denton.
It's really fortunate too. So Gary and I have an amazing connection in one of my partners with 555, CJ, and she too is a shorter statured firefighter. So her and I have a very special bond together as
Yeah.
being the short folks out there. But, I've been with her so many times and training so hard with her. And again, it's all about that mental game that when we're in the gym, we're comparing it to what we're doing on the fire ground.
Very cool, man.
It's just one of those amazing things that I never thought I would get back from this, right? Like in the fire service, when you started, you probably never thought you'd get this part back.
No, we become way stronger than we ever thought we possibly could, mentally especially.
Yeah, because of just, and what we're learning too about it, about the things that affect us, our sleep, what we see, how we eat, how we behave, what we should be doing on and off the job.
Yeah, I mean, as long as we can, have some self-awareness, step back sometimes and say, okay, what is going on right now? How am I doing? How am I acting? How am I treating others? What's changed? What do I need to change? A lot of self-awareness, self-reflection. We do that, then we're going to be all right.
Hardest thing ever,
Yeah.
self-reflection, right? And I don't think it has just for firefighters or emergency service providers. It's everyone as a whole. How are you treating your spouse? How are you treating your kids? How are you behaving with folks that you're around?
Right. Am I just, going off the handle right now? And if I am, why? What's going on? There's something else that's lingering around I need to address, right? And most of the time it comes down to communication. We have a tendency to kind of bottle some of this stuff up, and we just need to talk about it. It's pretty simple. Just gotta communicate.
Are you saying that males in our society don't communicate well by chance? Like, 'cause I know
There's some areas of improvement there, I think.
you say it so much nicer than I do. Being from New Jersey, I'm just like, we don't effing communicate with each other well. We need to do better.
Yeah.
But I do feel we're coming along with that, as we're learning these different things and the importance of it. And that's kind of what I'm geared towards with the size up here, is trying to get people to communicate more and understand that this helps me. This is part of my like catharsism. That's the word. I don't really know. Fireman, like you said, not overly bright, just kind of bright.
Right. I mean, we're running to burning buildings. We can't be like super smart, right?
Exactly. Totally exactly. Like people, that's when people ask me that. They're like, I could totally do your job, except for the running into the burning building part.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, that's actually the easier
Fun
part of
I
my
know,
job.
right? We don't even think about it. People are like, why? How are you so courageous and brave? And I'm just like, I guess I never really thought about it like that. Like, I just go in and go to work, like,
Yeah, you don't
just
really
never
think,
really
right?
crossed my mind.
It's one of those things that totally doesn't cross my mind. Obviously, there is a fear aspect, and we're taking in all that information. But I think you said it best before. It's taking in all that information, processing it, making the decision, and going. And also a part that I'm learning now as I'm a captain and doing more leadership roles is then having to say, oh no, wait, that was the bad move. Let's pull back a little bit here.
Right. That's
Young
not always easy,
it is not.
right?
And young
No.
firefighters don't think that way at all. It's the officer's job to say, yeah, we're going to pull back. We may argue a little bit about this, but we're still doing
Right.
what I said.
Yeah.
And this is why. But that comes into that ever learning part. And I think that's something cool too, jumping back to the Ninja Warrior, and they keep changing the obstacles on you.
Yeah. Right. Those guys, unbelievable. And
Like
just when I get used to something, they go and change it on me. And they
who
don't make it any easier. They make them
no,
super hard. They're all wobbly. They're all on springs or strings, and it is absolutely insane. You can't even train for that stuff. You focus then on your core and technique because you don't know what they're going to throw at you.
the poor tall guy on the one episode on the springy, like they grabbed the bar,
Yeah,
but it was on like a
Jody.
bungee
Yeah, his
cord,
feet
right?
almost hit the water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just for being tall, his feet almost hit the
Yep.
water. Now there's a
Right.
secret short guy thing that I'm like, ha ha, you deserve that,
Yeah.
buddy.
Right. Yeah,
But
he's got some other obstacles work, to his advantage where he can just kind of reach. But on that one was his disadvantage. So every obstacle, I mean, you have to be thinking. You can't just go barreling through it, because you never know what they're going to throw at you.
Even the one too this year, maybe it was last season or new this season with the box where you had to match the shapes.
Right.
Like they
And one
can't even
side
see
was
the shape.
spinning, right.
That's like crazy. That is like worse than trying to figure out, I'm in this room, it's on fire. What am I going to do now? Like for me to think
Right.
about the process, all that is just such a whole different ball game.
Yeah. That's cool. I mean, we train until we can't get it wrong, right? And then
Yep.
that way we try and get go through every possible scenario that we can think of. We can't train for everything, but you got the basics. How to hang on and how to spray water. And so you do that stuff, and you get you out of most situations.
Yeah, spraying the water definitely helps. I keep trying to explain that to people. I had a job with a rookie, and he was up a couple stairs from me, and the door burnt out. Just into the one fire room we were going into, and he's kind of like, he wasn't standing, but he was taller, so he was kind of in a crouch. And I'm like, "Hey, buddy, your head's on fire. You may want to open that nozzle." Like, he's holding the nozzle while the flames are blowing out at him, and I'm like,
Right.
if I had the camera on my helmet, it would have been an amazing video, because it was just that cool to look at in a way. But I'm like, yo, your helmet is on fire. Open the
Yeah,
nozzle now.
just like the old Home Alone where he walks in the door and
Yeah, and the torch
burns his head.
That was it, except he's standing there holding a nozzle with boatloads of water in it. Just open the nozzle, man. You'll be fine. Yeah. But that's that end of it too, where he was newer on the job and just wasn't in that processing phase of that.
It just doesn't click yet. Even though you've been through fire academy, you know what to do, you've trained for it, but until you're in that situation, it doesn't always fall into place yet. That's why it's important to just keep training.
Yep, just keep learning, keep training, the same as you're doing for the Ninja Warrior. So you were on the job, and we're again 34 minutes, and we're going to tell the story now here.
Right.
Did you always have a knee injury? Did you injure your knee? How did the partial kind of come into play?
Yeah, so like I said, I was always jumping as a kid. I wanted to jump to block my older brother in basketball. Basketball is my first love, and um, wear and tear of years and years of jumping and pounding on this knee finally got me. And so I had to go in and get something done about it. And the partial knee replacement was pretty much my best option in that. And it had gone well, and then it started to have some issues, some swelling, some minor complications, in 2016, and then it resolved itself, no big deal. And then 2 years later, 2018, running down the football field with my friends and family, and that swelling came back on me, and so it was pretty rough day for me, man, to be honest.
I can totally imagine that, when your choice what were the options kind of? So my wife, just full disclosure again, my wife just had a full knee replacement at 40 something years old. Because she had past knee surgeries that it was just time. So was the option to do another partial? Was it to do a full? How did you kind of come to your decision? Because I think that's a big part of your story too, is that day of deciding.
Yeah, so the decision wasn't really. I guess it was up to me, but at the same time, I had it had failed, and my popliteal artery had been severed, and so the swelling was basically like blood and fluid, and I unfortunately had to take myself to the hospital. Well, I didn't take myself, but my friend did, and the pain was absolutely excruciating. My knee ended up swelling up to the size of a bowling ball right before my eyes. I lost feeling to my foot. So it was horrible. I remember rolling into the hospital, and that's about it. And so they ended up wheeling me back to the operating room like right away, because they couldn't feel a pulse in my foot, and they're like, "We need to go and fix this issue." Well, popliteal artery is pretty important.
You need that one.
Artery, yeah, in your leg, and so if it's sliced and diced and unrepairable, basically is what had happened. They'd spent 13 hours trying to do bypasses and everything they could, because they knew me. This is the hospital that I bring my patients to, and so these doctors and nurses, they got to know me over the years. They know that I'm a very active person. They know my family. They know who I am, and so they threw everything at me. They're like, "No, we have to save this guy's leg, because if we don't restore that blood flow, we're going to have to amputate." And so it was pretty wild. I of course was on some pretty heavy pain medications, so I don't remember a whole lot, but I guess my wife tells me that, being a little bit stubborn, I would have her kind of push on my foot, like, no, we have to restore this blood flow. And that was not going to happen. And so 2 days later is when the decision was made to amputate my leg just below my knee. So it was, man, it was pretty, obviously it was like the worst day of my life, at the time, and what you know, the way I saw the world at the time, for sure. Being a firefighter, how in the world was I going to provide for my family? There's no way I could be a firefighter on one leg. What does an amputee look like? I didn't even know any amputees. You know what I mean? Like, it was just so many questions was going through my mind afterwards. And I was scared. I was anxious. It was, what how do I provide for my family? They all like to eat, they all like to live under a roof, and all these things cost money. And yet here I am laid up in a hospital bed with one leg, man. It was pretty rough.
It's so amazing too, again, and I'm just going to keep saying adapt and overcome, right? Because that's what you've done. But in all of this that you're telling me you were worried about how you were going to do for others, right?
Yeah,
How am I going to provide for my family? How am I going to go to my career? How am I going to keep being Gary? How am I going to, it's all for others, and that mantra is what's gotten you to where you are today, for sure.
absolutely. I think that's what's carried me. That's what carries all of us, I think, is when we're serving others. That's very addictive. It feels good. You want more of that feeling when you're helping others. And I made a decision pretty early on, because of my kids. Honestly, I don't remember much from the hospital, but I do vividly remember all four of them like standing over me, looking at me like I am the most pathetic thing that they have ever seen in their life. And they have never looked at me like that before. And I it crushed me. It crushed me. And so I pretty much vowed right then and there. It did take a little bit of time for this to kind of
Of
sink in,
course.
but I pretty much decided that they would never look at me like that again. And I was going to do whatever it took to get back to fighting fire on one leg. I didn't care what it was going to take. I was going to be the very first amputee firefighter in the world. And once I made that decision, man, that was it. There was no going back. There was no plan B. Like, these kids will not look at me like that again. I'm going to show them, what I'm made of here.
I'm fairly certain I've seen that picture too, and I can attest to. It wasn't what I was thinking, but now that you've said it, and I think of that picture, I can understand being a dad, how you must have felt there, and that drive to just go, right?
Yeah,
That drive is unreal.
yeah. The And so many things, that was going through my mind. uh Talking to my wife, and spirituality and things, where I was like always telling my kids growing up that everything happens for a reason. And so now I'm kicking myself for telling them that, right? So no, it gave me an opportunity. Pip, it really gave me an opportunity to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. And so, who am I to go against what I've been telling my kids for all these years? Like, okay, this happened for a reason. I don't know why. It seems awful,
Totally
but
awful.
something good is going to come of this, and I want to help other people go through this. And I'm still fresh. Like, I'm still going through it. I haven't even gone through it, but
Yeah.
I felt like, okay, okay, I really do believe that things happen for a reason. And so I'm going to prove, I'm going to show them, yes, there is a reason. Something good is going to come out of this. And once I had that mind shift, once I started thinking positively instead of negatively, because there were a lot of dark days, man, like super dark days. And what I noticed was that when I was having a really bad day, and most of it tied to my pain level, my kids were having a bad day. The mood in the house was very negative. And I started to notice that if the pain level was better and I was having a better day or a good day, the mood in the house was positive and energetic, and it was my kids again, right? And so I started kind of putting two to two together and realized that my attitude, my perspective of this whole situation, absolutely determines how they're going to respond, how they're going to act, and what their attitude and perspective is. And so I decided, and it's important to understand that it is 100% your decision of how you respond to things, because we all face adversity, right? But how you respond to that adversity determines your character. And I decided that I was not going to let this beat me, and I was going to turn this thing into something positive. And so once that mindset started going, I started having more positive thoughts. And I remember this one day, I was feeling a little sorry for myself, of course, and it was like a fleeting thought, but it was, why did this happen to me? But it had changed. And it wasn't, why did this happen to me? It was, why did this happen for me? And that really kind of blew my mind. I thought,
As it's blowing my mind while I'm thinking about it.
right? Like, how could my leg, I'm a firefighter, how could my leg being amputated be something that is good for me? I realize it's not just for me, it's bigger than me. This is for other people. I've had the right attitude, the right perspective since all this has happened, and now I've been able to help a lot of people go through some pretty tough times in their lives. Not just amputees, but others who have lost things and going through some difficult times, cancer and things like that. To be able to think differently and more positive and still live a good life. And so it has changed my world to think, okay, why did this happen for me? But
That
that's really
motto.
hard. It is hard.
Oh, and every day it's hard, right? Every day is that adapt and overcome challenge, and you did that right there with that. No one, I don't know about you. When I became a dad, no one told me my children were going to model my behavior, whether it be good, bad, or indifferent. And I love my dad to death. He's going to come on this podcast with me one day and tell everyone embarrassing stories about me. But there was no, like, he never taught me, like, hey, son, your kids are going to model what you do, just like you did what I did. Like, that's not in a book, right? Or maybe
Right. Yeah, you learn that. Unfortunately, you learn that one way or another, right?
Yeah, right. And your situation was an extreme situation of that. But even for your kids, and I'm gonna be totally remiss too, and I'm jumping back a little bit, but your wife is like wife of the millennia. I'm gonna
Oh
go
yeah.
on this end of
Oh
things.
my gosh. Yeah. I could not. Yeah, I love her to death. I don't know what I would possibly do without her, or what I would have done without her and her love and support. She is a rock star. She is literally 99% of everything that I'm doing is because of her.
And it's so amazing too, because she was part of these decisions with you, I'm sure, and probably had to make some without you in that pain hill fog that you might have been in.
Yeah.
And it's something that, we don't necessarily always talk to about our spouses. And my wife happens to work in palliative care, and we talk about this a lot. And it's something that we want to start talking about together, and looking at your wife and yours relationship. It just has to be so rock solid to be through this.
It really is. It truly is. She is literally my better half, and she is 99% of that half. I'm just along for the ride, but she is super strong in all areas of her life and our lives. She takes care of all of our kids. They are so involved in everything, and she keeps track of all of it. And she's also a teacher and a coach, and I don't know how she does it or why she's with this guy, but hey, I count my blessings every day, brother.
That is the best too, because having that and to go back to our jobs, this didn't even happen at work. There's so many of these things that could happen to us at work that some people aren't prepared for. You know what I
No.
mean? And not that you were prepared for this. You know, you had a surgery, and so many people do, and then all of a sudden you were thrust into this life. And having someone with you for that road and helping you make those decisions, again, possibly making them for you,
Yeah.
and the right ones at that time, is very stressful.
Yeah, the support system is huge. You know, my wife, my kids, my extended family, my fire family, church family, community. Like it is, we are all in this thing together. You know, so that is super important. If you're going through something, find your tribe. You know, if you don't already have one, find some support system. Go to counseling. Find your people, the ones that are going to support you and help you and encourage you to reach your goals, because there's nothing you can't accomplish if you just put your mind to it. You know, I say this all the time, but you can literally make the impossible possible. uh, I am living proof of that. You know what I mean? But we can't do it alone. It takes a tribe. It takes a huge support system.
It does, and you snuck a little word in there too about counseling, because that's something that, again, as males and in our profession, we haven't really ever ran to, let's say. And
Yeah.
again, knowing from my wife in palliative care, you know, it's something that she takes care of folks that have sudden amputations or traumatic injuries in trying to manage their pain. And one of their big suggestions with their social worker is to speak to a counselor,
Yeah.
because your life is going to change after this. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, I mean, it only makes sense. Like, you can't do anything without your mind, right? Your mind controls everything. So that should be the very first thing that we fix, that we heal, that we make sure is in top-notch shape all the time. You know what I mean? So do whatever you have to do or need to do to make sure that you're right up here, you know, and everything else kind of falls into place after that.
It's so not pretty though, your mind. You know, like it's not like muscles on your arms that everyone can see that you want to work on. You know, no one gets to
Right.
see the inside of it, and to see it look pretty. But you're 100% right again. You know, and I know just for me in my own life, you know, having gone to counseling for different things, you don't even realize how effed up you could be, right, on the inside.
Right. Right.
Until some stranger sitting on a chair across from you kind of says something, and they don't, you know, I don't want people to be afraid of going to speak to a counselor in any way, shape, or form, because yes, it is scary, but they mostly just listen and you
Right.
talk. And the next thing you know, you're like, oh, I said a lot there.
Right. But I feel better. I have a direction. Okay, a little self-awareness, you know, it's self-care. Yeah, it's good.
It's a huge part of self-care. Like for me, it's a huge part of my life still. And I'm so happy my wife and I went on that journey together, you know, just like you're going on with your wife and your kids, because I'm sure they're along for this ride. They got no choice, right?
Oh my gosh, they're thriving, man. And you know, if I would have chose to go down a different path, I feel like they would have chose to go down different paths as well. And so we are that role model, whether we like it or not. You know, as fathers, as parents. Um, so choose wisely, right?
And it's so easy in the fire service to compare things to movies, because that's what we do. And like, I just keep thinking of Forrest Gump and Lieutenant Dan in a totally different situation in a totally different time. But eventually, Lieutenant Dan comes around to, you know, his positives in life through the help of Forrest there.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's funny you mentioned Lieutenant Dan. Gary Sinise is his name, and you know, I've managed. You know, I did the Ninja Warrior, and I do other stuff too. And one of them is I do para bobsled for USA, and I've been to Norway a couple times, and fortunate enough to actually won the U.S. National Championship back in March. And Gary Sinise, his foundation sponsors our team now, and so it's really. I hope to meet him someday
that's
because
so
the
awesome.
whole Lieutenant Dan thing. I feel
Yep.
like there's a little connection there.
Lieutenant Dan Band, I believe, is his band, and he
Right.
uses the help of his
Yeah.
foundation. So
Yeah.
so we're going over an hour today. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But yeah, bobsledding. You live in Texas. How
Makes sense, right?
yeah, 100%. Like like you may as well be from Jamaica at this point.
Right.
Right? So where did that whatever? How'd you fall into that, for lack of a better
Yeah. Well, so once I got back on the job, which took
term? Skip
about
that story.
We did skip that a little bit.
We skipped that jump. You did get back to the job.
Sorry about that.
And wait, before we do, because now I'm remembering something. Are you the first amputee firefighter?
No,
Okay,
no,
because I know
was
someone
not the
else who is,
first.
who's very
Yeah,
local to me, but I think you were before her. But
yeah. No,
you
no,
don't mind my
there's
name?
a half a dozen or so, and
Okay.
I get messages not all the time, but I get messages where, hey, there's another one. He's an amputee trying to get back on the job. So I message them and we communicate and we talk about it. And so,
I believe there's
yeah,
two in New Jersey. There's a female
yeah,
and a male. A female
nice.
volunteer and a male career firefighter, I believe.
Very cool. Very cool.
Sorry, I have to
Yeah.
make everything about New Jersey in my life. Sorry, it's just what we do here. So you got
No,
back. How did that go? Yeah, let's do
yeah,
that one first.
right. So, yeah, that's where the whole adapt and overcome came from, because once I got my prosthetic leg and I taught myself how to walk again, which is a whole other episode in and of itself. But I learned how to walk again. Then I had to figure out how to run and trust my leg and climb ladders and do all this stuff. Unbelievable. But the day did come where I put on my bunker gear and started training and was like, can I actually do this job? And my chief was super supportive. Of course, all the guys at work were super supportive, and they're like training with me and helping me and doing whatever they can with me to get me back on the job. I think that there's a part of everyone's mind was like, he's probably not going to get back to full duty, but if anyone was going to do it, it would be Gary type deal, just because of who I am and what I do, and I was going to give it my best shot. And they were super supportive throughout the whole process, and very blessed and grateful to say that 10 months and 6 days, but who's counting, right? 10 months and 6 days following my leg amputation, I was back on the fire truck full duty, no restrictions. And there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into that. It was a long 10 months, but of course it was a fast 10 months. And once I got back on the job, it was like I was excited, and you would think that I would be done. Like I accomplished what I set out to do, and I need to sit back and chill now. Well, that lit a fire, and I thought, okay, how else can I challenge myself? I need to compete, athletically or whatnot. How do I compete against other people, like me now? And so I went to a track and field competition for amputees, and I did pretty well there. And then they had a sitting volleyball clinic going on, and so I played volleyball growing up, but I'd never sat down and played. And so I was like, hey, I'll try it, see how it goes. And turns out like the USA coaches were there, and so they kind of invited me back to a camp, and started playing with them a little bit, and that led to beach para volleyball, and I've been to Alabama and Florida with USA and stuff. And one of my teammates was on the bobsled skeleton team, and said, hey, you need to come up to New York and try this para bobsled or the para skeleton. And I was like, what is that? I don't even know what that is. And I guess the rest is history, because I thought, whatever, if you think I'll be good at it, I'm up for a challenge. I'm up to compete. What I got to do. And jumped on a plane, went to Lake Placid at the Olympic bobsled track, and started training and practicing. And turns out I'm halfway decent at it. And
So did you do skeleton? Because skeleton is a whole level of craziness that I can't even fathom.
Right.
Did you do
Yeah.
it?
Right. So I have tried skeleton, but bobsled is trying to make its way into the Paralympics.
Gotcha.
So I'm kind of focused on that. Skeleton is crazy scary. Your chin is literally,
I'm out.
2
I'm
inches from the
100% out.
ice.
All limbs, everything. I'm out. Totally out.
Yeah, you're doing 90 with a helmet, but you're on your belly, face first. It's crazy. It's crazy, but it's exciting. It's an adrenaline rush.
I think I'm good, man. I'm into
Yeah,
adrenaline.
right.
I am not into that kind of adrenaline.
Right. The bobsled itself, I mean, it's wild. It's loud and violent and scary, but it's exciting. And you're in this sled, and for us, it's called a monobob, and so it's single. There's with able body Olympics, they have a 4-man and a 2-man,
Okay.
but with the para, it's a single 1-man.
Okay.
So I push it, I jump in it, I steer it, I do it all myself. And
See, I was going back to my Cool Runnings knowledge. I was going to be like, are you the brake man? Are you the driver? Are you the pusher?
right,
But you have to do it all.
right. I actually met Chris Stokes, who was on the original Jamaican bobsled Cool Runnings team, not the actor, the man. I met him. It was so cool. He's now the president
Life-changing
of
moment right there.
Jamaican International Bobsled Team. But anyway,
You have now elevated to my like coolest guest ever because you met someone on the Jamaican bobsled team. Sorry, it just has to happen that way. But that's so awesome too, and just your attitude about this whole thing, right? Taking that negative, turn it into a positive, and just keep looking for that next challenge. I love it so much.
Yeah, man, it really is a decision. It's yeah. So I like what's the results from it. So I'm gonna try and keep it going as much as I can.
So with that too, and that infectiousness, I'm going to bring my co-host upstairs here because you didn't stop yet. You've decided to write children's books and become an author as well, which is not the easiest of tasks.
Right. Yeah. So, once I got back on the job, I made the news, and of course, got on TV a little bit. And so teachers started reaching out to me saying, hey, will you come to my classroom and talk to my kids about overcoming adversity? And that, I was like, absolutely. That's kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing. The whole adapt and overcome, everything I do with Fight and Fire, I had to change everything that I did. I just had to do it differently, but I could still do it. And so that's what I wanted to show these kids. And I went to these classrooms and talked about overcoming challenges and just thinking differently and getting your mind right. And I was going kind of classroom to classroom, but I thought, man, this message needs to get out to the world. How can I do that? And then it just kind of hit me one day. I need to write a children's book, and that's kind of started it, and it turned into a whole series. Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hello.
There you go.
What's your name?
Microphone.
Hello.
Hey, I can hear you. What's your name?
My name is Dex, and it's very nice to meet you. And I just want to say I watched some videos of you on YouTube, and I just have to say you must inspire a lot of people around the world, even people who don't have disabilities or prosthetic limbs. And I just got to say it is an honor to meet such a heroic person.
Well, thank you. It's nice to meet you too. I hope I can encourage you to do whatever you want to do in life, buddy. Just literally set the goal as high as you possibly can, and just go after it. You can achieve anything you put your mind to.
Thank you.
Dex, that was awesome, man. I'm so happy you joined me here. You came in like perfectly because Mr. Gary was just talking about speaking to kids in classes and what got him to want to write a book. Would it be kind of cool to have him come to your class and talk?
Yes, that would be amazing.
His story is pretty cool,
to.
right? Did you like watching him on Ninja Warrior?
Yes, it was very cool.
Right? It's so cool to see him do all those obstacles. I wish we could do that. One day we're going to have to go do that. What do you think?
That would be the best experience of my life.
Oh boy. Now we're going to be joining a ninja gym here soon on top of lacrosse, school of rock, regular school, rollerblading. He also rides a bobsled, which is pretty cool too, huh?
Awesome.
So Dex, I'm just going to mute you here for a second so we don't hear you breathing. But so and again, that was the perfect parlay into what you have going on with kids and motivation in the books, right?
Yeah, man. It's wild, it's what I wouldn't have said this when I'm lying in that hospital bed with one leg looking up at my kids. But this has been a gift, it's the gift of life. There's many times during that surgery that I could have died and I didn't. And so I am here for a purpose. I have a reason to live, and I don't want to waste a single second. And I want to share with other people this gift of life and let them know that we are here for a reason. Everyone has a purpose, and you just have to find that and just take that passion and power that is inside of you and fulfill that purpose in life. and that magnify that calling that you have. We all have this purpose, this reason, and that's what I'm doing, and I hope that's what I'm doing.
You're doing it. No one can deny that you're not doing that. And I think too, we didn't even mention this one before, but your medical team, those folks must be like over the moon with you at this
They
point.
are. They're pretty excited. They follow me a little bit on social media.
just a little bit on social media. I'm sure some of them were in that room with you, pumping them up, watching you on that screen.
Yeah, yeah, and that and there were some others that told me I probably need to find a different job, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of the situation. And so I basically let them know that this is my only job. So we're going to see what happens. But yeah, everyone is really excited to see kind of what I'm doing, with this and where it's going and where it's leading. And hopefully I can just continue to lift and encourage other people to overcome obstacles and challenges in their life.
Do I want to ask what's next? Like, should I even ask what's next? Like, what's on the horizon here?
Hang on tight, man. Hang on tight. I've been fielding some calls, and there's some things coming up that's going to be really cool. My brand, my AO, I would love for it to take off and literally compete with some of the big brand names. Because of the mental side of things. I've got some other books that I'm looking at. I've started a comic book series about the fearless fan man. And so fan man is an acronym. F stands for firefighter, A, amputee, N, ninja. And so,
Oh boy, how about that, Dex?
yeah,
Let me unmute you, Dex. How about that one, Declan?
That sounds pretty cool.
All right. I feel like Marvel should pick that up. What do you think, Dex? We get him in?
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. No, Marvel just sees that and then they're like, we should work with this. We should make this into something.
There you go.
I
You heard
like
it
it.
here first from a true Marvel fan. So
I
right
like
there.
it.
I'm
I
excited.
like
What else we got? So we got Fan Man coming out, the comic book, some more books.
I want to read it.
It's going pretty good so far. I think it's pretty interesting, and I'm going to deal with some concepts, some mental stuff, and some physical stuff, and it's going to be fun. I hope that kids enjoy it and get something out of it, and see that it's based on a real person, and I think that's the biggest thing with these books is that it's not make believe, it's tied to a real person who's gone through some real adversity, and they can say, okay, if he can do what he's doing, I can absolutely get through whatever challenge that I'm facing. But there are some other cool things coming that I got to kind of keep close to the chest too.
I know how that goes. There's secrets. Gary has secrets. Pip has
Yeah.
secrets, right? We all have
But
secrets.
I have secrets.
Easy one.
it is all good. It is all good. So
That
just
is
blessed
awesome.
to be in the position I'm in.
So before we get to the size up 10, because maybe nobody wants to listen to these questions that I ask people, but tell the folks where they can find you, because you have loads of links, which I'll have all in the show notes as well, but let them know the best ways to get in touch with you.
Yeah, sure. So all my social media, Facebook, Gary Weiland, Instagram is Gary_Weiland, LinkedIn, just Gary Weiland, GaryWeiland.com. And then any of my apparel is adaptandovercomeapparel.com. And
it is pretty dope apparel. There's shirts with no sleeves, which I have in my cart. I just didn't put the order in yet because I saw when they shipped and I'm like, well, it's not going to be here in time to wear it for the show. So I'm just going to get it ordered afterwards.
You're good.
Kids apparel too, which is very important to have for you and your fan base there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting. There's been a lot of people that have reached out and they are kind of jumping on board with this. I'm trying to build a community, and I've actually just kind of started a new website called adaptandovercomestories.com, and it's going to be where people can go and read stories of other people all around the world who've overcome challenges, and they'll have an opportunity to submit their own story. And I want to just build this community of mental strength and hope and grit, and how we're all in this thing together, and we can literally make the impossible possible. I truly believe that.
Brother, this has been such a pleasure. This hour of your life you've given me, because I know how busy you are right now with everything you have going on, and I took so much more from it than I really thought I was. I knew I was going to come in and get some knowledge bombs from you and some inspiration, but you've just provided me with so much more, and I just hope that you can keep me as a part of your story and let me help you keep moving this ball forward, because it's infectious. Right?
It is, and I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate it. I'll definitely keep you in the loop of everything going on, and I'm grateful you had me on the show.
Nah, it's been great. So let's hit them up. So the size up 10 is 10 questions that I ask every guest now. Some are one word answers, some are a few word answers. We try to do it rapid fire. It has not worked yet because sometimes it is what it is, and I'm not holding to that. That was the plan, but there is no plan. So here we go. Let's hit them. Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Beach. Night out or night in?
Night in.
A good book or a good movie?
Good book.
Nice. Cross country road trip. Who's gonna be your co-pilot?
My son.
Oh, which son? There's a couple sons, right? Let's be specific.
Yeah, my youngest.
Because
Oh, I think we're the most alike. So.
Go with safety. Safe answer right there. Do you make your own bed every day?
No.
Oh, I know a really famous guy in your world that would be like,
oh I do too. I do too.
That could be a good head-to-head battle for you if we can get him to battle you on that.
Right. I got too much going on.
He's gonna sleep in it again anyway. All right, $1 million right now, or go back to 18 with a redo.
Oh man, I wouldn't change a thing. Give me that $1 million.
Nice. All right, I'll have Jeremy from National Fire Radio wire you that right now, because that's what he's
Perfect.
doing. Highways or back roads?
Highways.
Oh, the easy way. See, I would not have guessed that about you. I would think the back roads.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just who I am. So
Life in the fast lane, baby. You could say it. There's nothing wrong with it. I was just thinking,
I like to get to where I'm going. Like I don't like to waste time.
And things in Texas are so far apart. Maybe
I know. I enjoy
location.
life. I do, but man, let's go. Let's get to we're on a purpose here. Let's get to where we're going.
I love it, man. Your bucket list place to visit?
Greece.
Nice. Oh, it's on my list too as well. Someday. Football or football?
All right. Football.
No worries. You're from Texas. I understand.
Yeah.
All right. Last one. Best advice you could give to your younger self?
Oh man. Right.
You're the guy. You should have this one ready. I was like a rapid fire. You had an answer in the can for this.
But I did. The thing is, like, I've always lived my life. Like, I've always lived a faith-based life, and so the best advice, just be stronger. I don't know.
There's nothing wrong with that either. I'm not looking for like some, we're going to make a t-shirt out of this, but be stronger alone, right? Because you can be stronger physically. You could be stronger mentally. You could be stronger in your faith, stronger in your marriage, stronger as a parent, right? All those things are good.
Yeah.
And we all need to do them better. So,
yeah.
So cool. Listen, man, I do thank you for joining me on this episode of The Size Up. Declan, I'm going to unmute you here. I want to thank you, Declan, for coming in here as my co-host.
To be honest, I would have to thank you for letting me come here.
Best, my buddy.
This has been amazing.
You're the best, my buddy. Thank you. And again, I want to thank my great guest, Gary Weiland. You can find him just search Ninja Warrior and he comes up. Like there's no doubt about it. Adapt and overcome. Gary, I'm so excited to see that semifinal run. I know Declan is, my other son Finn is. We're all going to be cheering you on here in New Jersey. You just keep doing what you do, man, and keep that positive message going. And for the Size Up by National Fire Radio, this has been Pip, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you.
National Fire Radio.